Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. U.S. intelligence officials have reportedly told influential religious leaders to prepare their followers and congregations for shocking revelations about UFOs. Perry Stone, a popular evangelist, author, and Bible teacher from Tennessee, says a group of pastors met recently with U.S. intelligence representatives and were warned the government will soon release reports and possibly videos of aliens and spacecraft.
Some of the people who were in the meeting were telling us as pastors, you need to prepare your people and you need to get ready to answer them for what you're about to hear being released. And some of it has to do with crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly a part of our planet, and the materials they're made of are not a part of our planet. Very strange reptilian-looking creatures, and other things that almost sound like something out of a sci-fi movie or an Orson Welles book.
He said the intelligence officials reached out to the pastors given the central role of faith organizations in many communities. He also said the officials expected most people would have one of two reactions.
And number one, you're going to have people who are going to say, if there are galaxies and there are allegedly other creations in the galaxies, then the whole creation story is a myth. And you're going to have people that's going to apostatize and turn from the Christian faith because they have no answer for what they're about to hear. Then they said the opposite will be. There will be a group of people who are not followers of Christ, are not followers of the Bible, and they're going to freak out, and they're going to come to pastors, ministers, and teachers and say, what is this? Is this really real?
The alleged discussion between government officials and religious leaders comes as a growing number of congressional lawmakers have been urging the Trump administration to publicly release all of the government's UFO files. A few years ago, some files and military videos were released.
My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
But more recently, Tennessee Republican Tim Burchett attended a classified government briefing on UFOs and UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomena. Burchett said the revelations left him shocked, not just because of what the government allegedly knows or has collected, but also because of how much the government has continued to keep away from the public.
I've been briefed by just about every alphabet agency there is, and I'll just tell you this, if they would release the things that I've seen, you would stay up, you'd be up at night worrying about or thinking about this stuff. We just need to disclose it all. I'm sick of it. Well, I was briefed. I'll just tell you this. I was briefed last week on an issue, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago, and it would have set the earth off. This country would have come unglued, I think, if they would have heard all that I heard. They would demand answers.
They would demand answers. The country would come unglued. Following more classified briefings, Congressman Burchett gave another interview and elaborated on his demand for public disclosure.
America's just ready. I think they would they'd be alarmed about what it is, and I think mostly they'd be alarmed at why the government won't allow it out.
Yeah.
And what's at the base of it, and you know, all the theories aside, whether you think it's extraterrestrial, if it's something from this earth, you know, if it's the Russians or the Chinese or the Americans, which I don't think it is, and then maybe allow some of the pilots to talk and tell exactly what they've seen. And the last briefing I had, some pretty incredible photos, and I think that you should have the right to see those.
The congressman and others acknowledge there will always be some people who claim it's all AI or a government hoax. Still, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, the Republican chair of the House Subcommittee on Declassification of Federal Secrets, insists the government files and evidence that she has seen are persuasive and should be publicly released.
There have been briefings that we've received as Congress that leads us to believe that
yes, there is definitely an advanced technology out there that's not created by mankind. And yes, of course, we've seen other evidence where it could potentially be UAPs, and then we later find out that there's drones. But there is a certain amount of evidence that we simply can't explain.
3 years ago, former Air Force intelligence officer David Grush became a government whistleblower and testified to Congress.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human.
Now, Grush serves as an advisor to a congressional task force helping lawmakers navigate the government's classified operations. As a result, a growing number of lawmakers believe, as he does, that the U.S. government has evidence aliens exist.
I don't like to characterize necessarily where they came from. They're definitely some kind of non-human sentience, but it is true, believe it or not, we've recovered the vehicles, and we actually have physical proof, and I was actually partially cleared into some of those activities. It was beyond oral testimony provided to me. I actually had partial access to the data and actually read the intelligence reports resulting from those programs.
Like,
and
with your own eyes,
Correct.
You saw it.
Yes.
Between the whistleblowers, the congressional task force, and the lawmakers who have been getting access to classified briefings, the momentum on all of this is building. And the pressure on the Trump administration to release the UFO files is also coming from the media. The New York Times just published an op-ed from astrophysicist and author Neil deGrasse Tyson titled, "Give Us the Aliens." It appears the release of the alien files is coming. The White House says President Trump has directed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to begin releasing government files related to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. And that may explain why a group of pastors reportedly met with government officials. To be clear, several religious leaders say the existence or evidence of extraterrestrial life would not necessarily undermine the Bible or religious faith. Many theologians argue that God's creative power could easily extend beyond humanity. But just confronting evidence of UFOs and life beyond humanity will undoubtedly shock many Americans and other people around the globe. And so faith leaders are beginning to prepare. By the way, Republican Senator Susan Collins has been shaking as she campaigns for re-election.
Governor Mills dropping out of the race just last week. Now we have the general election set in this battle for the Senate. I guess plain and simple, I got to ask you, is Graham Plattner too far to the left? Is he too extreme for Maine?
I believe that will be the conclusion of Maine voters, but obviously I don't take anything for granted.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Two Sons, who wrote, "Washington, D.C. is a nursing home." Indeed. I look forward to reading your comments about evangelical Christian leaders being told to start preparing for a U.S. government disclosure on UFOs. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.